Evening, welcome back to United TV. Sunderland versus Manchester United. Hopefully, we're going to go there and completely destroy them and get third place. That's what I'm hoping. But I don't think they're going to fold completely like they did against Forest. Well, they might do, but we're going to go through this. We're going to preview the game, look at what Manchester United might be lining up, as what formation we're going to use. I've got two great guests that are going to talk us through this as well, with Zabetta and Kieran. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, no, very good. Thanks for having me, Rich. Good to be here with you and we deserve better, of course. But yeah, no, obviously coming into this game off the back of that Liverpool win, spirits are high. So hopefully we can kind of finish the season on a high. We obviously can't win anything, but to win our last three games and just have that momentum going into the summer, will be a nice thing. And as you said, getting third place as well. So that'd be good. But yeah, doing well, thanks.
Yeah, I echo what Kieran just said. You could have knocked me over with a feather yesterday when I suddenly realised we're playing on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. when I was thinking there must be a full moon. When's the last time that's happened? So glad that we're getting a 3 o'clock kickoff, and I bet the fans are too. We're playing away from home. Like you say, it's 3 points that we can get to consolidate third place, which would be lovely. I know a lot of people are saying, that he may rest players, etc. I'm under the elk that Carrick will play to win all these three matches because his job is on the line. So, and of course, Bruno wants to be chasing that assist record. So hopefully the team are aware of that as well. So it could be a very exciting match, exciting final three games.
I'm pretty sure Bruno's made everybody aware of this record. He's just lifted he's got the Football Writers Player of the Season award. I think he's going to want to get the assist record to go with that, and maybe just put a cap on it for Bruno Fernandes, an individually good season. So so go through the comments as well. I'll try and put some comments up as we go through it. Dan saying Saturday game, what is going on? Like, to be honest, I hope next season I don't want to play every single Monday and Friday. It just felt that we play any time apart from weekend. It's ridiculous. But on a Saturday, it's like it seems to be a rare occurrence, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with the Europe and Champions League next season, it shouldn't be the case so much. I mean, they did us a favour in some degree because we're box office. They needed to have us on the screens. They needed us, give a whole night to Man United, one of the most watched teams in the world. But yeah, you're right. No more Monday nights, please. It's so nice to have it at the weekend.
Exactly. United Dar says, hopes we see Yora and Heaven get more game time together. It's essentially one win away from getting like guaranteed third position as well, which a lot of stages of the season would have felt unachievable. Do you remember we used to have these conversations like because we were playing every Monday, it felt like we watched everybody else play, and then we went right, okay, we're 3 points off fifth or something. We seem to always be like, no, not that close, and we've had a good record now, even though. I think people can question the performance possibly, but last three games, beaten Liverpool, beaten Chelsea away, and you look at the other game we won, which we're picking up points against Brentford are a difficult team. So those three games on paper, you look at it and think, there's definitely a few banana skins, and we got through them all. And beating Liverpool is fantastic, no matter what Liverpool team it is. However you do it, it's going to be great. We've done it twice in like a way which must really annoy them with like a late Maguire header, and then after they've come back into it at 2-2, we've hit him with like new contract Mainu just steps up and proves that he can finish chances as well. So for Liverpool fans, it must be a nightmare this season for us. Like I think we stepped up in those two games against them, and it's been great to see.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's one of those where I didn't think when Carrick took over that we'd be in the position we are now. I kind of thought that whilst there'd be a bit of a bounce, I kind of thought we'd probably still struggle or at least be in a bit of a scrap for top four. But to be in as comfortable a position as we are, firstly, obviously, credit to Michael Carrick. I mean, I don't know obviously how much it says about the state of the league as well in terms of like other teams below us dropping points, but we can't control that. Ultimately, all we control is winning our games, and we've done that. So you have to give massive credit to Carrick and what he's brought to the team. But yeah, I'm very happily surprised about how well we've done since Carrick's come in, and obviously makes an interesting decision for the board going forward with Carrick's job. I'm sure we'll get into that. But no, he's done what he set out to do really, and I'm kind of surprised at how comfortable we are, but I'm very happy.
Yeah, job done. Any news on Delic? I think that as far as I know, Delic a week ago was injury free. Like, no, he's recovered from his injuries, but I think there's probably, given how much time he's out, there's probably a lot of work to do in terms of match fitness and things like that. So I think I don't know what we're expecting. But and with Zabet, you said the injury news. You're thinking like SESKO might be out.
Yeah, so with Delit, he remains the only definite long-term absentee. He's been out since November with a persistent back issue. He's currently doing individual light training on grass. SESKO, they're saying, could be a major doubt. He had a heavy collision with the Hoardings board, if you recall, in the Liverpool match, went off at half-time. Although the injury is not considered long-term, they're saying that Carrick will test him just nearer the time, but he may not take the risk and rest him for the Sunderland trip, which then would change what the starting lineup looks up. The other person that is available, of course, is Lisandro Martinez after serving that 3-match ban with the hair pulling incident on Calvert-Lewin. So he could go back straight into the starting 11, or of course, Heaven may retain his place. Maybe we'll look at that.
That's the talking point. So that's the talking point. As people are coming in, Ryan saying, yeah, Bruno Fernandes, Football Writers Player of the Year. Exactly. Probably going to get Player of the Year. I think he's quite popular amongst the other players as well. But we're going to go into this one and go, right, so defensive lineup, what do people want to see? And if you've got some suggestions, that's probably the talking point is going to be that fullback's probably going to be predictable. Partnerships defensively, what are you thinking, Kieran? Like, what do you like the look of?
I mean, I'm someone that kind of likes to reward people when they are playing well, and I think Aiden Heaven is one of those players that undoubtedly has kind of caught the eye since getting his opportunity to come back into the side. And I know obviously Martinez is coming back from his suspension, which is great, but I would probably keep Heaven in the team, and I'd have Maguire and Heaven together again at the back. For me, as much as obviously you could argue we've secured Champions League football, so the ultimate goal has been secured. So maybe we don't need to play as strong a lineup. I do still feel like those two next to each other, they demonstrated against Liverpool they were a strong partnership, and I feel like they deserve to carry on. And I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd keep with those two, Maguire and Heaven. To be honest, I think Martinez can always come on, and having missed 3 games as well, he might be like a little bit rusty. So I would start Maguire and Heaven next to each other, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd second that. I mean, Sunderland like to do the vertical passing, and they try to get the ball up as quickly as they can, and they always try and look for a Brobby, who's really good in the air. And I think just because of that, with Heaven being 6'2", Martinez 5'9", I think I would certainly select Heaven because of the aerial dominance. I think even if we weren't playing Sunderland, I would have still kept Heaven. I agree with Kieran. He's got back into the team. He's doing well in the team. And sometimes when you're doing back in the team and you've come back from a suspension or an injury, you have to bide your time. And Heaven deserves to be there, and I think he's perfect. But for against Sunderland, I think he's the right profile, what we need, and he'll stop Bobby getting those balls out to the wingers.
Do you think he's going to play loads of games next season? Because that's kind of the idea, I suppose, is he was going to take over from Lisandro Martinez. People thought they might dovetail a bit. Lisandro Martinez out for a long time. Do you think it's going to be Aiden Heaven? Like, is he going to be the breakout player next year, do you think?
I mean, from my perspective, I think it's going to be interesting, obviously, when you then add De Ligt to the mix as well, once hopefully he recovers from his injury, because then you've got De Ligt and Maguire and Martinez, Heaven, all competing for spots. I mean, I'd love to see, obviously, the fact that he's a young player. We brought him in, not necessarily, he's played for our academy, but obviously came from the Arsenal academy originally, but still technically, playing for coming through our academy. And, it's obviously nice to see him getting these opportunities and doing really well. He's still very young. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a bit of a thing with, especially look at Kobe Mainoo, where these 18-year-olds get opportunities and they do really well on the team. But sometimes you have to remember they are so young, and at that age, they can be susceptible to, getting an injury or something that could curtail their career. So I don't think we need to be too. I don't know the best way to put it, but I suppose like pushy on Heaven to kind of keep starting week in week out. I think he's doing really well when he's getting his opportunities, but obviously when De Ligt comes back and we have Martinez, Maguire, and other players in the mix, he's gonna be fighting for his place. So I do hope that
He's
he's
doing well,
in
though,
that.
isn't he? I think the key thing is he's playing
Exactly. Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Is there any thoughts on say Luke Shaw's started almost every single game in the Premier League so far? I'm assuming he's starting again. Do you think we're going to be seeing, like, say we'll go for sort of the lineup from like back to front and say Lacey, Euro get minutes. If Carrick's going to go for wins, possibly not. I think maybe if you're looking at, you can still start those players going for wins. Are we assuming Dallo starts? Is that going to be? So if we're trying to get a lineup accurate, do you reckon that would be the back four? Take Mazraoui off.
I think so. He seems to favour Dallo, doesn't he, over Mazraoui? And Mazraoui didn't really kind of cover himself in glory when he did come on as a right back in place of Dalot. So I think more than likely he'll go with Dalot's energy and getting up along the pitch. So I suspect he'll probably keep Dalot and Shaw.
I think it makes sense. I think if the people have got any suggestions that contradict what we've got on the screen, I think Maguire and Heaven feels a bit like, potentially it might be our best partnership at the moment. I think over a whole season, then clearly, I think because he's only 19, I would say Aiden Heaven. If he starts like half the matches or something like that, then it's going to be, I think, a way of managing minutes anyway. I think if you're looking at younger players, he's going to have some ups and downs, and I don't think he should start every single match, but. No, he might well be like forcing his way into contention for like some of the bigger games as well, which I think is like really good to see. And we're kind of, do you remember when we had this conversation about a year ago where you think, right, Yoro and Heaven could be the future, but I think a lot of people saw Yoro as maybe going to be there sooner because of his experience level. I think we're seeing that Aiden Heaven actually looks, maybe the different skill set he's got, but the physical side of it as well. I think he's quite well suited to the Premier League.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, he's 19, Euro's 20, and it's kind of like you want to have him in and out of the team. You want to take the pressure of him if the form isn't, running great. You want to make sure other players can come in and take that from them. So, in an ideal world, we look at Martinez and De Ligt and make an observation whether one of those goes this summer. But I think more than likely, with their injury history, are they going to be an asset that you can sell on in the summer? Do we just retain them because when they do play, they play well, and then it takes off some of the pressure? But you want to ensure that they're available, and that's the key sticking point. But you don't want to be carrying Dalot and Martinez next season, because that doesn't benefit having a Euro. That will mean most certainly they have to play through their bad form.
Yeah, it's always question, is there any possibility we don't let Sunderland dominate us? Like, Sunderland have been quite a poor team. If you look at Sunderland in terms of like as an average team, I think their pressing is very low, their attack output is pretty low. I wouldn't be too concerned. Obviously, they did well at the start of the season, but I would be looking at this as a game Man United should be looking to definitely win. I wouldn't feel overly worried about this one. So I'll go for this one. I'll go for a few of the comments about. There's a couple about Heaven saying Heaven's like there's an angel on the ball. Then Yoro. I think if you're looking at it, then Aiden Heaven for me is someone that I think he used to play a bit more in midfield for Arsenal's academy as well. He looks quite confident. He looks bringing the ball forward. I think that's something that people praised Yoro for. But for me, Aiden Heaven's also got that physical approach. We saw. Do you remember when which game was it? Where he went in very hard quite early on, and people were comparing him to Eric Bailly in terms of throwing himself into it, but with a much more physical approach than that one. And so I think Aiden Heaven's got the edge because he's played a bit more in the English lower leagues, and I suppose he's come through the academy. But it seems that he's got a couple of years less experience than like Yora's played Premier League football now for 2 whole seasons pretty much, and you're looking at, I suppose like he has come through the youth, but I think he's just like Wayne Rooney was just massive as a like 16-year-old. I think Heaven is just one of these people that is just he's just physically there, isn't he?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll go for a few suggestions though. Martinez and Maguire says Yarley. But he wants You're in heaven. What do you think then? Like, do you think it's going to be like? I think Maguire's going to be definitely there, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the way Maguire's been playing, I think he's been one of our more underrated players this season. I think actually he's someone who, when he's not in the team, we've really noticed the difference. When he got that suspension, I think it was, we definitely noticed when he wasn't there. And I think as much as obviously Yoro, I do think he's got some potential, you can see that his inexperience does show at times in games. And I feel like he's definitely, there's a defender in there. But I think right now, I think um, Maguire has to be considered as one of the top two centre backs of the club right now. I think he occupies one of those spots, and I think it's the other spot which is the contentious spot. That's my opinion, but I feel like really we're looking at who's gonna partner Maguire. But obviously next season, depending on obviously if Carrick's in or another manager comes in, they may have a different plan. They may have a different system, and all of a sudden everything I'm saying gets thrown out of the window. So I mean, I think Maguire's probably up there as one of our top two centre backs, but depends what whoever the manager, whoever's in charge next season thinks as well. So it'll
So,
be interesting.
yeah, I think they're going to do like it feels a bit like they're going to have one experienced defender on the pitch at all times, whether it's going to be Maguire or it's going to be Lissandro Martinez or De Ligt, and then you've got Aiden Heaven and Yori just hopefully getting more experience. I think at the moment in time though, Lissandro Martinez because he's just come back, and Jim said, yeah, one of the things I'd say about this one about signing Aiden Heaven is, that story this morning that we were scouting or we are speaking to Leicester City about the 16-year-old player they've got. I didn't realize at the time, but that 16-year-old has played 30 games in the Championship this season. So and I was thinking, wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. That I know Leicester are a poor team, but he's been getting a lot of. And actually, Yali was saying in the comments he didn't look out of place as a 16-year-old in the Championship. I think that's quite impressive. So United looking to try and do the same sort of deal. I guess that it's going to be more money than Aiden Heaven, but you can see they're looking at trying to get some of these deals done, which do benefit us in the not the really distant future either. So Heaven, should I put the midfield in, which we know is going to happen? Like because there's literally there's no options here, is there? Me and Casemiro. Casemiro is going to take some replacing, isn't he? That in terms of we've got about a short list of about 50 people, it seems.
Yeah, he's had a. I mean, this is the way to have your swan song season, isn't it? It's the final, the Casemiro farewell tour. He's done really, really well, and don't be surprised if him and Bruno get together again and get another goal between them. And Mainu, just it's been really interesting watching Mainu and Casemiro over the last 5 or 6 games because they've literally changed position. Whereas Mainu was playing more as a 8 and Casemiro was playing more as a deep anchor. In the last couple of games, Mainu has taken that role, which has allowed Casemiro to float as an 8. So it's really good for me because depending on the opposition, I always like that kind of flexibility from a midfielder. You change it, and you also change it mid-game if need be. So yeah, that partnership, it's a lovely partnership. Like you say, it's sad that it's coming to an end.
No, hopefully next season though, we won't have a situation where we have 2 midfield players and then we're kind of hoping they can get through 90 minutes because we don't want any substitutions. So Jeremy's taken play. He played 7 games in the Premier League last year as a 15-year-old as well. So yeah, maybe we're looking at and Yali's gone in with like pretty much gold standard praise, saying that he sees the gigs in Mongo. Like that's very high praise indeed, like really high praise. And big up to you, Bilal. Good to see you in the chat. So yeah, lots. I suppose this one, like, there's lots to look forward to. I suppose with the transfer news, but clearly, Man United looking at. We tried to get the left back from Wednesday as well, so we're definitely scouting like around lower leagues, which people have been saying this for years that United should be doing it. So we are doing this one as well. So I can't wait to see Bruno get 2 assists tomorrow. Says Fun Shoot. Yeah, he's at one. Is he one off the record now? Because he didn't get that.
Yeah, I think he's 1 off equaling it and 2 off breaking it.
Yeah.
So you haven't had two box-to-box players at the same time for a while, says Cam35. Maybe next season. Maybe next season. I think, Andy, I can't remember the rules, but it depends when your birthday is, doesn't it? So you can play as a 15-year-old, depending on when.
You have to be 16 and so many months in August. And that's why JJ Gabriel will be able to do so next season. I can't remember how many months it is.
So it depends. For some people, they have to wait a bit longer. It's like it's by a certain date, isn't it? So if you miss it, then you have to wait until like halfway through the season or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
And welcome Agile Beast to the chat as well. Ryan said he's expecting a tough 2-2 game in this one. So the Benjamin Sesko's out. So the question is going to be, how does the rest of this team line up? That we're going to what do you think, Kieran? We don't have loads of options. I'm hoping next year when we do these sort of tactical previews, there'll be a lot of options to choose from, but you might be running a little bit low this season.
Yeah, I mean, the move that Carrick made at half-time in the Liverpool match was to take SESKO off due to injury and replace him with Ahmad. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ahmad starting next game. I know, to be fair, his form hasn't been great this season. It's not really been his season, but I think obviously with the options we have, I wouldn't be surprised to see Ahmad play, and then obviously Mbumo potentially going up front. Because he's that's a role that he's played. He's obviously played more on the right hand side for us when we've had a focal point up front, but I suppose he can play through the middle as well. So that, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. He could change it up a bit, but I think Xerxes potentially might get an opportunity. But I kind of, especially if we're going off the fact that he's going to look to win these last 3 games, I feel like he'll probably go with Ahmad and then Mbumo maybe playing that role through the middle, and obviously they can change around, I suppose, during the match. So we'll see. But that's what my kind of prediction, as it were. But I'm not too sure.
I actually wonder whether, because it didn't work that well when he brought Ahmad on, whether he'd actually look at right, how does this team set up? Because when Sesko went off, it went a bit wrong, didn't it, for a little bit of time. This one from United Sardai says he would consider putting Cunha as a striker, and Buemo it doesn't seem to make him as effective. But then I suppose you've got to look at where Amad Diallo plays in that one. I was thinking, actually, I remember after the Liverpool game thinking, was there any sort of merit in putting Xerxes up front and then keeping Mbeumo on the right where he's doing quite well, keeping Cunha on the left, and just keeping the team shape almost exactly same, and going, right, Sesko's gone off, he's a forward. Okay, we know that Xerxes is not going to be incredibly prolific, but maybe it means that for the benefit of the team, we can play in the same sort of way. I don't know, what do you think which is better? There's obviously a couple of different options we can go with.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get this. I kind of understand the thing about Cunha, because Cunha likes to roam through the middle more. So although he has been positioning himself a bit more on the left recently, and I could see them keeping Ahmad on the right. I mean, Ahmad on the left and Mbeumo on the right. But Carrick also is a creature of habit, and he may just stick to what he knows and keep Mbeumo up front. But there's that movement. I think what is kind of good about all of that, because Cunha may start on the left, but you'll see him on the right, and what I like about our cams is that they rotate, they flow, they move, they move to where the play is. It's been a tough watch with Mbeumo as a second striker. So maybe he goes for something different. Maybe he does push Cunha up, because it does seem Cunha drifts in anyway. So maybe you bring Ahmad on the left. It's a tricky one, because the offside to that is, do you keep Ahmad in a position he knows where he isn't performing, or do you put him in a position that he hasn't done very often and he may perform worse? So that's the dilemma that he may face. But it's unfortunate that Sesko's out, because if Sesko comes in, everyone plays in their natural position, and I suspect Ahmad sits on the bench. I hear the point just quickly on people saying this will be a tough game. Delo is going to have a tough afternoon. Their player Hume. He's really fast on the wing. Try Hume, and he often shifts into the midfield, so that he'll keep Mainu and Casemiro busy. They like to utilise their wings very, very quickly, and then play the ball into Brobby. So they go with pace, and they come at us at pace. They actually stick in the 4-4-2 in defence, and then get the ball out very quickly. So Della's got to be on it. Della can't be caught too high, and therefore they may go for the free and keep Della high and just keep it back free of, as he has done in the last few games, out of possession.
A player we've forgotten. I forgot myself. Like Dorgu is another player we haven't mentioned. That is a potential.
What you're thinking in left attacking midfield instead of Ahmed?
I was thinking, like, how close is he to like coming back and being effective?
That's a shout.
I mean, he was on fire before. Because when people are talking about Lacey, I'm thinking if you're considering Lacey, I think Dorgu's got to be a shout. Like that's something that's going to be. Just thinking that would be if we're guessing that Michael Carrick tends to like to do the same sort of thing, which he does seem to keep doing the same sort of thing in a lot of games, then that would put Dorgu as an option there because he has actually been happy to do that in the past. And do you remember one of the early games that he effectively benched Cunha for Dorgu and I do think that Michael Carrick, if everybody was fit, he does like having Dorgu on that position because he does hold width a bit better. So I think it's a shout. It's one of those ones where if you're looking at like Big Dog in the chat saying you'd like to see Dorgu, I think SESKO is not available. That's why we're having this conversation. But so I think if you're looking at putting Dorgu in there, I think Mbeumo would almost certainly be the other side.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Kieran? I'm not sure whether Dorgu's like up for starting the match. I mean, he seems to be someone that he's been out for quite a long time. He's definitely going to be, up for starting. I'd imagine that he's been on the bench for about 2 games now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been on the bench, and when he came on, obviously in that Liverpool game, he came on for Mbeumo. So I mean, I think he's slowly getting back to kind of full match fitness. I don't know. I don't know how many. I don't know whether he starts. I don't think he would, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him, come on. But to be fair, under Carrick, he's actually had put in some really good performances, scored some great goals. To be fair to him, so I wouldn't be opposed to giving him an opportunity, especially with Ahmad's form. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I don't see him starting the game. But I could definitely see him playing a role at some point.
Okay, so let's go through what 3 do you think start then? So what's your thoughts, Kieran? So if you had to pick 3 names now, you think are going to definitely start. Like Lacey's playing tonight, so he's not going to be starting.
Well, I think my prediction is pretty safe. To be fair, in terms of it's a bit of a kind of I'm basing it off what we did in the last match.
So you're going to have Mbeumo up front, Almajallo on the.
Yeah,
there.
I think that's what Carrick starts with. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some movement on that, but that's just again, it's so difficult to predict these things. But that's what I'm going to go. It's a bit of a kind of safe prediction, but that's what I've gone with.
Okay. Do you agree that but I'll go for a couple of the questions. Someone said Dorgu at left back. I don't know if Carrick's going to do that unless Luke Shaw's injured. In which case, if Luke Shaw's injured, my guess would still be like Dallo or Mazraoui move to that position.
I think it's a great shout, Dorgu, and I agree with Kieran. When he came on against Liverpool, he was so leggy. And do you then just what has he done in the last week? Has he has he done enough training? Has he got the movement back in? Is he going to be able to get into the game, or do you bring him in in the second half when you take off an Ahmed or a Cunha or an Mbeumo and change it up and bring in the pace? Then I think that's probably going to be a better option. I am tempted to put Cunha up front, but I think Kieran's right. I think he'll probably go for what he's done And I think sometimes it's important to keep playing those players in those positions. That don't change it up too much, because then Ahmed comes over to the left. He's struggling on the right. I think he'll struggle even more on the left. And then you're taking Cunha out of his position to accommodate. So here we're just taking one player out of their position. That's Mbeumo, and he's played that position before. So I would agree with Kieran. I would like to see Cunha through the middle, but I think it makes more sense, and Mbeumo starts up front.
With Mbeumo, it's almost like his own worst enemy, because he'll still put a shift in wherever he goes on the pitch. So if you want someone that's going to be probably be doing as good a job as he can there, I guess is there any sort of shout for Xerxes, or is that just not going to happen? It does seem that Xerxes and Agate are effectively just watching football these days. That from the sidelines, they're not going to be used unless it's like late substitutions.
I just don't think Xerxes is as industrious as those three that we've just named, and that's his difficulty. He's great to bring on and hold up play at the end of a game. He's always been good for that, but other than that, he hasn't shown enough for me.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Yeah, no, I agree in terms of that seems to be his role, is essentially coming on in the latter stage of matches and doing a few good touches and keeping just kind of trying to keep the ball late on in matches. So yeah, I think it's a good point. And I think unfortunately, when he has been in front of goal, I don't think we've seen kind of the clinical finishing from someone that maybe would be a regular striker or would like to be a regular forward player. And especially obviously when you bring in a SESKO, it's always going to be difficult to usurp him. I think, especially when you've already paid that money and you've backed a kind of a young superstar like SESKO, it's going to be difficult to get back in for him. So I think there'll be some interest for him in the summer. Obviously, there's been talk about Serie A clubs liking him. So see what happens. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he'll have to make a decision about playing time. For the coming season. But yeah, I think right now he'll still just be a kind of substitute for the rest of the season.
Yeah, look, I mean, you've got to use these players because the bench is sparse, isn't it? I suspect if we had a better bench, Xerxes probably may not even make the bench, and it's unfortunate. He's a lovely chap. It just hasn't worked out for him.
Yeah, Mason Mount. I mean, he's in the same situation, isn't he, where he's not getting many minutes, and if Man United sign more midfielders, then Mason Mount's going to play less and less. I don't see him being used too much in rotation. It feels a bit like a backup option that eventually you're going to start looking at. Like, I don't think we can sell him, can we? And it might be the point where if we had a bigger squad, maybe we could like move him on. So, I mean, as far as I know, he is fit, isn't he? Like, he is available.
Yeah, he's available. His wages are the issue. 200k. If he was on a lesser wage, a club being promoted might take a punt on him. But would Mount go? And that's the other thing. You're at Man United. You've got a contract. He may just turn around and say, "I'm going to fight." He also knows that he's been taken care of when he's been injured. It's a precarious situation for him too. Will he get that same kind of care if he goes to another club?
Yeah, apparently, I saw this earlier that apparently Atletico Madrid are probably getting João Gomez, and he's just like low down on Man United's list apparently. So I think Man United aren't making, when you see like deals happening, you think, okay, Man United aren't really interested. That's going to be one. Apparently, Man United might be agreeing in terms of Edison, though. That's something that someone said earlier. So maybe he's going to be our first signing. I don't know. It feels like a different one every day. But do you think like if we had Edison on the bench, say Edison in our football club, I'm guessing on a day like tomorrow, he would be on the bench, wouldn't he? He would be there to like rotate with Casemiro, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I mean I think that's the thing with some of these players that we already have is that if I mean obviously things that sometimes leak was it not leaks links are just kind of we don't know how true they are, whether that'll actually materialize into a signing, but obviously yeah, if we were to bring in another midfielder, obviously with Casemiro going we are, But you know, obviously, if you're someone like a Mason Mount or a Xerxes sitting on the bench, and you're seeing players come in, if you then see someone who's coming in as like depth, then yeah, it's not it's ringing alarm bells for you really. But yeah, I suppose on a day like today, having someone of Edison's ilk, I suppose, would be helpful for a Casemiro, because it feels like in a lot of games this season, um, with his age, ultimately, when he has had to come off, there's been a little bit of a drop off, and I think Agate, unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out for him. He's not been able to fulfill that role very well when Casemiro's not been available. So, yeah, that's definitely something we need to address. But I think if Edison was in the team, if that's the sort of role he'd be playing right now, yeah, definitely.
I don't know about you, Kieran and Rich, but it's funny. As soon as I saw that Atletico Madrid had agreed personal terms with João Gomes, even though it's not a player that's high on my list of midfielders, I just get a kind of feeling in my gut, because I'm thinking, okay, it's one less midfielder, and why aren't Man United making this kind of personal agreement with one of those midfielders? And I just have that kind of small bit of fear. You kind of think, come
You know
on.
what it is, though? I think it's like when you see deals happen. I remember a year ago, almost like a year ago today, and the first one we saw was the lap's quite cheap. He's like £30 million, had an okay season at Ipswich, okay. And the story is Man United interested, right, it's gone to Chelsea. And okay, people don't want him, but it's the same scenario, isn't it? Where you go, actually, okay, another club's actually doing something. And it's like, so then you think, okay, he wasn't like, for most people, he wasn't in our top three. But then you think, okay, but he would have still been quite good. And it's not going to be until Man United actually sign a couple of players we're going to start having having an idea, is it, about whether the transfer window is successful. Like if Manchester United wanted to sign, say for example, we signed like a Tchouameni or an Anderson, then we got say Alex Scott or a Belieber or a Stiller, and then we got another player, which a third player, which we looked at like a Fernandez, and say we got three good players, then we might not get Alex Scott or Wharton or Tonali, but if those three players moved quite quick in the transfer window, we'd be looking at it thinking, hang on a minute, suddenly things are happening. And I know sometimes it's about fear of, I'm not worried about missing out on Gomez. I'm not overly worried about missing out on one individual player in particular. But if a few people start going, you start thinking, were these definitely like low down on the list? Like at least get one to make sure we kind of like getting things going. I think Atletico know what they're doing, and it's not that Edison's worse or that Gomez is more. It's that Man United are. I think we probably have Edison slightly higher up the list than Gomez possibly, and that could be he could be like the third. If we sign three players, maybe Edison's like the third best one we sign. Put it that way, and they just see him better. Than he's got a bit more experience than possibly. But to be honest, I don't really have a preference over either of those two.
I was just going to quickly say, just on this, sorry, Kieran, I know you haven't
Oh,
spoken
sorry.
on what I asked. Could this just be Atletico playing the same game that's been played with them, where Man United have suddenly been put into the fray because we're not offering as much, we're offering more of Atalanta's valuation for Addison, and Atletico have turned around and said, well, we're now looking at Gomez, and to try and push them to come back. So it may just be a bit of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other between them two.
Yeah. No, it could easily be that, to be fair. I think it's definitely not out of the realms of possibility. That clubs do it all the time, using, especially with United, it seems. But they do it all the time with kind of using different clubs' names to kind of generate pace in negotiations and things. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's difficult before the end of the
I think
season
it's
to
agents
really know.
sometimes.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
the
true.
agents.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember the Ebola story? That I've seen a few people quoting Ebola, and I was just thinking they just like gave me nightmares last year because they kept running story after story saying, "Oh, Man United, Gyökeres has said this, Gyökeres' brother like thinks this," and it was just like, oh, come on. You're trying to find information, and it was all about someone that knows Gyökeres, his family think that, and it was just like, wow, okay, there's nothing there. And Ebola kept putting out these stories and linking Manchester United to Gyökeres, even though Man United weren't interested. And I think with this one, that I think United were interested, but some of the interests have been exaggerated a little bit. And it's that every single story I read, this is no joke. If you look at any sort of player, they will say, "Oh, Leeds make move from Man United target. Atletico go from Man United target." Everyone like people don't use the names anymore. People just call Man United targets because it's a way of putting Man United as a searchable term. I think in transfer news, I think Man United just gets used as essentially what's the word? I think it's like used to to direct algorithms towards a story. Like someone like me is looking for a Man United story, I'll find like nine times out of 10 it's rubbish, and the players are a Man United target, and it's basically like a Tottenham story or it's a Liverpool story. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
Big up to Jeff for the super chat. Massive thanks to you, Jeff, as always. So, if you've got some questions, Jeff, as well, please get them in. But massive thanks to you, Jeff. Jeff is number one today. So I think it's like also that YouTubers like has that different numbers next to people's names, doesn't it? On try and get them to say things. What do people think then? To go back to this, we're not going to sign any players before the end of this season.
By tomorrow.
So no, exactly. We're going to have to make do. Michael Carrick's going to have to make do with the players we got still. Do you know what I was thinking? You only have like expectations towards the end of the season. Do you remember that game when we played? Who did we play? I'm trying to think. Was it Watford? Or so we played one game of the last game of the season, and we pretty much put out an academy team. Alanga scored the winner. I think we won like 1-0 or 2-1, and it was kind of the first time I'd seen Alanga. I think it might have been about 5 years ago.
Oh,
I think
we
it's
played
under Ollie.
Wolves. We played
Was
Wolves
it Wolves?
away.
That's it. Wolves.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wolves. And we beat Wolves, and Wolves are a difficult team anyway. But the team was just like an academy team. Do you think we're going to be doing something like that? Not in this game, but do you think there's a chance where? Because I think Michael Carrick might be too pragmatic and think, actually, I've got a job to try and secure here. I want to get if I can get 6 wins in a row. I mean, 6 wins. That's a hell of a statement, isn't it? You beat those six, like, win your last 6 games. That guy whose name I don't know cuts his hair, and we can all move on.
United
It would be a
Strand.
good way, wouldn't it? Because sometimes this stage of the season, players are not motivated. Because if I was a professional football player like Casemiro, I'm going to play in the World Cup. Then the fact that Casemiro is putting in like great performances week in week out, I think he's a model professional. I'm not sure if I would be as professional myself, but he is, and I think it's going to be difficult to motivate some of these players. Not Bruno, because Bruno wants to beat the record, and
I think Casemiro keeps putting in the shift because he has such a kindred spirit and great relationship with Bruno, and I think he fully understands that if him and Mainu don't put in that shift, that ball doesn't get to Bruno. And I think the thing about Carrick is he's grown up as a Man United player. We haven't won anything this season, so we need to be winning these last 3 games. It's not like we've won the league and we can take our foot off the gas like we used to, and then bring in the youngsters, which Ferguson did quite a bit. I think he will play, and like we say, his job is on the line. His win record is on the line, and unless he's had
his percentages are good, isn't it? Do you look at that and think? I'll just say that apparently Cunha's not resting. No one can rest because Bruno needs that record. I think if Bruno gets the assist record, I think he needs to go around to Casemiro's house with like a nice bottle of wine and get some food in for Casemiro, because Casemiro has been on the end of so many of those crosses that. I don't know what the record is for goals and assists between 2 people, but I remember it wasn't was it Fabregas and Henry or something? There was one record where I think Fabregas was involved, but you could probably say that Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland must be up there. But the unlikely situation, okay, we start the season and the 2 deep line midfielders are Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro, and that's actually probably our best combination for scoring goals now. It's like Bruno onto Casemiro's head. So maybe that's going to be something to talk about as well. And say Brian says he's going to hold off eating salad until Arsenal win a trophy. It's lucky you didn't start that 5 years ago, Ryan. That would be that's one for Arsenal channels, definitely. That's quite funny. There's no Arsenal fans. We can say that. I mean, if Arsenal don't win the league this season and don't win the Champions League, this is going to be like the worst bottling since I think Spurs did almost the same thing when they got to the final didn't turn up against Liverpool. I think they must have like got second in the Premier League a similar sort of time. But because it's Arsenal, it feels like it would be more spectacular. I think they're going to get over the line in the Premier League. I think the Champions League is a tough ask.
Mm. Yeah, that PSG side are no joke. But I think, yeah, I don't know. We'll see, But I think there's still another twist in the Premier League
Yeah.
race. To be fair,
It's like good versus evil, isn't it? In the Champions League, it's like everybody wants Arsenal to lose because they played disappointing football, and,
Anti-football.
yeah, and like Paris Saint-Germain, like the heroes coming in to like save the day of entertaining football and prove that it can be. Because as a neutral, I say okay, as a neutral, but I hate Arsenal, so that's difficult. But as a neutral, I want to see Paris Saint-Germain win, not just because I don't like Arsenal, but because Arsenal, it's like they take the worst things in football and try and like they're trying to do something which isn't even like inherently what Arsenal was built on. Because Arsenal had defensive at the back with George Graham, but they didn't used to do this negative time wasting rubbish. Like this is like Liverpool in the 70s, and I think that you were seeing that all the worst things in football from those two eras with Stoke rolled into one. And you just think about it, like how do you spend 1 billion and go right? We spent £1 billion. We can score from a corner if we bully a goalkeeper with our centre backs. Like it seems like is that the culmination of like 4 years of 5 years of planning? Like that can't be how you organise things.
They almost kind of fell into that, didn't they, somewhat, and then they then got stuck in it. And it's only recently, once the pressure's come off and Man City started to catch up, that they've started to play football again. I agree with Kieran. I think there is another twist. I think they draw against West Ham. A lot of people thinking West Ham are going to win them. I think they draw. I think it goes to the final day, and I think it gets settled on goal difference, which would be great for the Premier League in terms of entertainment and excitement.
Mm.
I'm kind of neutral because I just I just want the season to be like I don't want Arsenal to win it, and I obviously like City. It's frustrating
Yeah.
unless City get them all taken away from them at some point.
The difficulty is City are still on for the domestic treble.
Mm. True.
Cam says I'm still giving us a 30% chance to get second.
Right.
You have to run these odds via Tonali and our shirt sponsor to see what they think about that one. But 3 wins and say Arsenal win, draw, and lose, we get second. What? Hang on a minute. You're saying that who are we catching here?
City.
That we're catching City, are we?
That's the thing. I don't think we can catch Arsenal anymore. Oh, can we? Maybe we can.
No, I definitely can. I think the title race for us ended,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
we're 12 points behind Arsenal, but we're only 7 points behind City. So technically we can catch them, but tough ask.
It would be a miracle if Michael Carrick overtakes City, considering where he was,
Yeah.
and then we replace him with a different head coach. It would be I don't know. It would be hard to explain, wouldn't it? But
Crazy.
to you, Niall. Good to see you, Niall. So, any more suggestions on the lineup, or are we happy with this one? So, I think we're looking at the situation, and like Lacey's playing tonight. Like we're thinking that match fitness is an issue for Dorgu.
The only other possible change, just to kind of nullify their winger instead of Delo's Mazarawi, physical man. I just kind of think he's going to go for Delo because he's got a bit more speed, but it does mean that Delo's got to be entirely disciplined. The whole United team have to be very disciplined against this Sunderland side. They like to set the trap. They'll do basically a 4-4-2 block. And then they'll go for a 2v3 or a 1v2 in seconds. They'll push us to the wings and condense us there. And then players like Xhaka and Siddiqui will try and intercept any misplaced passes from us, and they'll launch the ball as quickly as they can into the channels behind the fullbacks. And players like Robbie or Taibi will use their pace to exploit us. And so we've really got to be disciplined. Mainu and Casemiro have really got to kind of conduct and look. I think Casemiro will probably play a bit more deeper, just kind of be scanning all the time. But our fullbacks have to be on their game. Shaw and Delo really have to. And I'm just wondering if he may go for Mazraoui over Delo, just because I think defensively he's more on it.
Yeah, good point. Do you remember the first game? The first game we played against Sunderland this season, it was Lamon's debut, wasn't it? And we conceded. Okay, we had a different head coach then. Things were different, actually very different. And who'd have known at that point in time when Lammers made his first game, played his first game for Man United, that we'd actually be talking about one of the signings of the season. And we gave up a really good chance quite early on that in that game. About it must have been like 4 or 5 minutes in, and I can't remember who it dropped to, but the Sunderland player completely miskicked his shot, and I was watching it thinking, "Whoa, okay, this is good." I was thinking like, don't give Lammers that sort of like, come on, defense, like you can't, you got to like actually play a bit better. And then I think after that, we pretty much control. Sunderland weren't playing great, or we played well, but we controlled the game fairly easily and won 2-0 in that game. But if you're looking at this one, should we do some like score predictions, or are Man United fans going to be overly optimistic? Are we going to see Bruno Fernandes get another assist? Do we think?
I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say yeah. I feel like obviously the Liverpool game he didn't get his assist. He nearly did for the SESKO goal, which
No, do
obviously
you think that should count? Like if you take a shot
mm,
and the goalkeeper like it comes off his hand, but it's on target. I mean, the header back from Bruno Fernandes is pretty much the goalkeeper didn't pass it to SESKO. It was
mm,
kind of I don't know. I'm kind of like in favour of giving it to if it's a dubious goal, I'd probably give it to the striker, unless it's like he's shanked it way off target and it's deflected back in. I think it was deserving of that one, but
mm. I mean, the goalkeeper's not going to be asking for the assist. To be fair, so he probably wouldn't mind giving it to Fernandes. So yeah, I don't know.
unless you're Nana, you want it just in the column somewhere to go to make it
Exactly.
look
Yeah,
like you've made some contributions.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Do
you get
you,
that stat for the season.
one of the things I would say though, can you see any scenario where you know how sometimes Bruno Fernandes does, let's say put it one way, he does probably create more chances than people feel comfortable with in terms of erraticness sometimes. Can you see Bruno Fernandes going crazy, or do you see a more measured Bruno still? Like I don't think he's been going crazy, in my opinion, recently. I think he's been a bit more measured. But he's going to be if he levels the record and he's got one game, it's going to be you can see that it might affect the way he plays a bit.
I mean, there was that moment in the game where it wasn't against Liverpool, it was against Brentford, where he had a chance to shoot and he just stopped and then passed the ball back. And I was like, take the shot, you don't need to get the assist. And he passed it to Casemiro, who just shot wide. So I kind of just hope, that just score, because we need goals to win. I don't think he's more erratic. I think he's been really good with the way he's found players. I really like him in the role. He's more disciplined. Just conducting.
I was going to say, have you ever played like FIFA games where you have to like as an objective you have to get assists? And I've seen a game where like a co-op sort of game where you pass it to someone and then they don't shoot, they pass it back. You're like, come on, like you got to score. I think with this one, if it gets to that stage, do you know what I saw? Like Ryan's not the person. I was gonna. This is like this is crazy. I was gonna say this, and someone had told me this recently, like maybe a week ago. Said they can see if it gets to the end of the season and Man United, like Bruno Fernandes needs one more assist, they can see this scenario where let's hopefully we don't completely mess it up. If you remember the Henri Perez penalty screw up, then if this happens and Bruno Fernandes goes to who's he going to pass to? Who's going to finish it?
So I don't know. I mean,
Casemiro, surely.
yeah. So that would be fitting. To be fair, that would be quite fitting if Casemiro was the one to score the goal for Fernandes's kind of record-breaking assist. That would be very fitting. But yeah, that would be quite funny if he did it and it actually worked as well. That'd be quite funny. But to beat Henri's record. But yeah, I don't think he'll be trying that. I don't think he'll be trying that.
And we get quite a few corners, so there's ample opportunity for Casemiro to get his head on one of them. Even Maguire is the other option too. And I mean, I think SESKO possibly gets him the assist that wins it. I really do. Only because I want SESKO to score more goals. It's the truth of it.
Willing it in.
Yes. An interesting fact, they're missing their centre back. So just as we've got our centre back coming in for pulling hair. Their centre back Ballard was sent off against Wolves for pulling hair, and he's out now for 3 matches.
Yeah, it's crazy. I
Yeah,
feel like
you don't get an assist for winning a penalty, but I think we're talking about like Henry and Pires trying to pass it to each other. Because I think if you kick a ball, you're not allowed to touch it twice, are you? But once the penalty's been taken, someone else can kick it. But generally, you'd have to be pretty stupid, and hence I don't know what Arsenal were thinking about, but they messed up that penalty.
Yeah.
Must have been like 25 years ago now. And so the idea is like one of them, instead of taking a shot, just passes the ball, and then they have to be obviously running in. But I remember going hilariously wrong with that one. I think its best option is going to be like when Benjamin SESKO comes back, and you've got Harry Maguire and you've got Casemiro there as terms of aerial threat from set pieces. Man United's record in set pieces is really good this season. You've got a few more games to try and do that, but also from open play. We're going to be playing Forest and we're going to play Brighton. I think there's definitely goals in those games as well. So
just in the last match, and Bumo was just inches off the post. I mean, he hit the post, just inches off goal. That was such a lovely deft on the inside of the foot from Bruno's cross. And he's laid it onto him many times this season. So if Mbeumo can find his goal scoring form again, don't be surprised if he gets one tomorrow.
I don't think you have to, Ryan. Doesn't SESKO have to score about another 10 goals or something? I think you're safe. I think you're safe from that one. Jeff said it's almost impossible to do that penalty thing anyway now because everyone's behind the penalty area.
You'd have to make quite a deep run to get to it now. But
yeah, Man United aren't stupid enough to do that, are they? you think? Okay, so what are you thinking? Like score predictions for this match? How are we looking in terms of confident wise? Let me just double check something. So I think looking at the league table. Are Sunderland one of those teams that have literally got nothing to play for now? Because there's not many of them in the league based on how many teams get Europe, how many are involved in the relegation fight. But I think Sunderland have been that when I saw Sunderland against Forest, I think Forest completely destroyed them. They've now got, they're pretty much bang in the centre, aren't they? 12th. Their recent form has been pretty poor, a couple of defeats, that heavy one against Forest and a draw last time out. How are we feeling about this, Kieran?
I think the only thing that worries me is the fact they're at home and the fact that they have a very good atmosphere, and actually their records.
They did lose 5-0 to Forest at home, though.
They did. I do think, as much as some people groan when you say it, but I think it's true that when United come to town, it's different in terms of the atmosphere. That obviously they'll be massively up for it. They'll want to beat United. Obviously the fact it's the last kind of 3 games of the season, and as you mentioned, I think they're like 4 points off Conference League right now, so it's going to be difficult for them to get that. They could still do it, but their season is all but over at this point, so they're more fighting for pride. But
I'll just give you one stat. I'm not trying to influence you, but one statistic: Sunderland have scored 37 goals. To put it into context, only 2 teams have scored fewer goals than that, and that's Burnley and Wolves. So they've scored way less goals than Spurs, West Ham, actually the Crystal Palace have got 1 fewer, but their goal scoring has been dreadful. The goal difference is -9, and this is after a start to the season where they were doing really well. So are we concerned about the goal threat? The average about 1 goal per game, which is pretty dreadful. I mean, that's worse than we were last season.
Yeah, I think that they've got, obviously, was it Wheeler's I mentioned, obviously Robbie, and they've got some attacking talents there, but I agree it hasn't quite. I mean, obviously they'll be over the moon with the fact that they're staying in the Premier League and they're in 12th place and they're not fighting a relegation battle. They'll be absolutely over the moon with that performance. But at the same time, obviously I do agree with you, Riz, that on paper and the way we're playing right now, especially if we play like we did in that first half against Liverpool, where we were tearing them apart. If we play like that again, I think we will win the game. But I still just have that feeling of, Sunderland, create a very good home atmosphere. especially against the kind of so-called Big Six side, and they have done this season. So
They stepped up
that's my
against
main worry.
Newcastle, didn't they? Like they
Yeah,
really stepped up against Newcastle when they played them. But you
yeah.
can understand that. That's like Leeds beating us, isn't it? So I'll go. Cody says 3-1 Man United. So it's Maine's 100th appearance.
Oh,
Only
nice.
21, 100 games. That's a lot of football. So yeah, they've been bad recently. I mean that 5-0 against Forest was a bit of an outlier. You have to say that they did lose 4-3 to Aston Villa. So defensively, they've not been so great recently. How are you feeling with Zabel?
I mean, I hear it. You know, Sunderland fans will tell you we're 5 points off the Europa League places. You know, and until it's done, it's not done. They've come close in a few games. You know, they lost 4-3 to Villa. They lost by a goal. No, they beat Tottenham by a goal. So they've got it in them to give teams a match, and I think that's what it is. All United need to do is take their chances. Just recently, on occasion, we haven't taken our chances, and if we don't take our chances, Sunderland will exploit that. I think the longer they stay in the game, I think the more difficult it becomes. So I'm hoping that we have the same intensity that we've shown in our last two matches, where we get a goal within the first 15 minutes and break their spirit. They are playing at home. It's always going to be a tough ask to go to Sunderland. And I think sometimes when a big club comes to Sunderland, they can step up their game. It's the end of the season. They can still push for Europe. The odds are against them, but mathematically it's not. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think we may get the early goal, but I think Sunderland will do everything they can to get back into that game, and they may just sneak a goal in. I'm going for a 2-1 scoreline to us.
We'll go for a few score predictions, and then if anyone's got any final questions, then we'll wrap up. We've got a busy day tomorrow, lots of streams. Daz says I'm going 4-1 and sticking with that. I mean, that's not really out of context from what they've been doing recently. We've been scoring lots of goals, and if you look at that, also they've been shipping lots of goals. Debas is like, don't worry about Champions League. Don't worry about Champions League. But I mean, Dallo versus Kvaratskhelia is on paper it's a massive mismatch, but don't worry about it. But the fact we got Champions League football is just positive in itself. 3-1 United says United so die. I do like that prediction. I was thinking this one that it'd be quite nice to get another clean sheet. I think against Liverpool we kind of shut off and gave them a chance. I don't know if I feel like we're going to concede a goal. I think given that if this is the team we put out there, I think we got enough to like see the game out, get a clean sheet. Sunderland score an average of a goal a game. Okay, I know they're at home. It's the game's at 7 a.m. for you, Agile. You can watch that having breakfast. You got to wake up. To be honest, I'm better at late night. When there's World Cups on, the only time like an early match was okay was when there's like an 8 a.m. and I was watching that having breakfast, and then I guess work let me go in an hour later because they knew that everybody was going to be doing it because people were obsessed by football. And if you can just stay an hour later. But yeah, at least it's on a weekend though, Agile. So at least it's not like stupidly on like a Monday or something in the middle of your working day or something, which has been really frustrating. I see a couple of like 2-2 prediction from. So I'm trying to go through the comments. 3-1 for an Embuemo goal, needs to get a goal. Do you remember actually? This is probably what we should do is. Do you remember how accurate we were with the Liverpool game, where we said that I said Cunha's going to score. I said I think Maynard might do something in this game. And what was the other prediction? I said Szoboszlai and Gakpo are probably going to be the threat, and they both scored. I knew that Gakpo would score. It's like you can just for some reason, when you get a gut feeling, you think Gakpo's going to score. I should have gone down the bookies. I should have like given like Tonali some tips. If he's going to bet, at least win. Right? Who do you think is going to score the goals then?
I mean, I actually hope Jay there's right. I do. I almost feel sorry for Mbeumo right now. I feel like it would be nice for him to get a goal. I think I'm going to say Casemiro again. I just feel like the way that his, as Weezer mentioned, is kind of farewell tour is going swimmingly for him. I feel like it's going to continue. So I'm going to say Casemiro. Hopefully Fernandez puts one on his head again. That'd be great. But anyway, will do, to be honest. And I think I'll say Mainu as well. If it is his 100th appearance, those sort of landmark appearances always, it feels like something happens for that player. So that's more of just a kind of, I don't know, a gut feeling that I feel like Mainu might get on the score sheet. Obviously, did in the last game as well, so he'd be continuing his goal scoring form. So I'm actually going to say the two midfielders, Casemiro and Mainu. But we'll see. I honestly don't know.
What you said? Do you say 2-1?
Oh, my score prediction, I'd say 2-1. I like, because I do think we'll win the game, but I do think Sunderland will have good periods in the game. I think it's gonna be difficult for us to keep a clean sheet. So I'm actually gonna say 3-1. And I think we'll score a goal to make it 3-1, like fairly late on, kind of in the kind of 88th, 89th minute, maybe. So I'm gonna say 3-1.
Yeah, where's the better? Who you thinking's getting the goals tomorrow?
Part of me thinks that the goals are going to come from our central players, but I'm gonna hope that Bruno just gets his assists, and I'm gonna go for Cunha, and I'm gonna go for Mbumo, and I think they get a goal back from their winger Telby.
I'm thinking 3-1 in this match. I think Man United have got the firepower to get these games won now. That no, Liverpool get a couple of goals back, we respond, we get a third. Fulham get like 2 goals back, we respond, we get a third. I think we just got the firepower that we didn't have a year ago. And there's with Mainu can finish chances, he just doesn't take many shots. And Casemiro is lethal in the air. I think with this, if say this is the lineup we play tomorrow, then I hope Mbeumo scores because he's on a bit of a bad run. I hope Almajolo scores, but I think Cunha's going to score again. He's just like the one player that seems to have just got better throughout the season, and he's up for the fight. And I think Bruno Fernandes is almost certainly going to be creating maybe like 3 to 4 good chances, and he's going to get another assist, at least another assist. So I think that's equaling the record, isn't it? If he gets one more, like
Yeah,
getting.
yeah.
So I think he equals the record. I would be surprised if Cunha is not on the score sheet. Cunha and Mbeumo, and if it could be on Majolo, if I could pick someone that maybe that would be quite good, I'd go for that as an option. But I think 3-1 sounds right because I think United will take the lead. We almost always like concede something because the Premier League is just a tough league, and we are conceding a decent amount of goals. But I just think United have got the firepower to get a couple more. So I think 3-1 is going to be my shout. I think Benjamin SESKO might be out, and Bilal. That's why we're thinking that he won't be in the team. Cam35 saying 3-1 is a good shout. I think it is a good shout. I think it's I mean, they've been shipping loads of goals. We've been scoring loads of goals. I think it's so. And when was last goal was 7th February against Spurs. It's a shame, but we don't get to play teams as crap as Spurs every week. Do you know what the thing is? Like, okay, Spurs were a nightmare last year, but you know what the thing is that these games we've been playing, this good run that Carrick's been on, we've had difficult games. Like all the games we've been playing recently, like away to Chelsea is a difficult one, Brentford's difficult, Liverpool's difficult, Arsenal, City. We haven't really had like a run of games against. It's like we played the easy games just before Carrick came in. Like we played like Wolves, we played against Burnley, and so yeah, tricky. We'll go for like some final thoughts, then we'll wrap up. And we're gonna be doing a massive stream tomorrow. So we're probably going to be starting about 1:30 with myself, Widders are better. I mean, I need to contact Helgi. He's difficult to get hold of, but he should be available, hopefully. Otherwise, somebody else will be doing the watch along. But we will be doing a stream as soon as the match finishes, which is a different stream as well. So everybody's able to get involved. So if you're around at that time when the match finishes, please get involved. It should be quite fun. Jeff says Casemiro header, Maguire header, Armadillo goal, all assisted by Bruno. If he does that, Bruno Fernandes is like player of the season, isn't he? He's already got the writers. He'll be getting the other awards.
And I think Danny B said 4-1, didn't he? 4-1 United.
Let's have a look. I can't see all the comments, so that's
Yeah.
scrolling back up. So
It's further up.
I'll go for them. What's your final thoughts? Was it better?
Happy days is what I'm thinking. I hope he may be tempted to bring on Martinez. I hope he goes for heaven just because of his height. I think that bodes well. He's great on the channels too. So I think I hope he sticks with that. I look at that team and I'm happy with that team. It's strange because it's almost the same players that I had at the beginning of the season, and I was not happy with that team. So it's so nice to just be enjoying our football. Even like when Liverpool came back last week, I still kind of look at it and think, we've done the double over Liverpool. We won that game. We showed resilience. Liverpool were going to step up in the second half. They were going to press high, and then we found an answer. And that's what I love about the Man United that we've seen under Carrick. When our heads don't go down, we fight to the final minute. So I'm always confident we'll get a goal. There's always a nice goal within us. I'm relaxed. It's so nice. Three matches to go. Relax. We need 3 points to secure third. We finish ahead of Liverpool, which is great considering where we finished last season. We're in the Champions League. We've got many players on 9 goals who can go into double digits in these last 3 matches. It bodes well for us. Not one person is being relied on to score goals. We've got 5 prolific players: Casemiro, SESKO, Mbeumo, Cunha, and Bruno, all scoring for us. So that's, like I said before, that's so difficult for the opposition to defend against. We're playing interesting, exciting football, and it's been a long time since I've said that statement. So it's just really nice to be able to enjoy it.
Your thoughts, Kieran? I mean, probably the only talking points after this game is going to be, if we win this game, we get third, and then it'll just be about, do we see academy players? Does Bruno beat the record? And then there's going to be like pretty relentless transfer conversations.
Yeah, no, I think I echo a lot of the sentiments of we deserve better. To be honest, I think for me, I think I'm, as I said at the start, was pleasantly surprised about how comfortable our position is at this stage of the season. I thought maybe if we were going to challenge for the top 4 places, we'd be kind of fighting right to the very end, and we'd have to go on a very good run. And it turns out that with 3 games to go, we've secured that Champions League football for next season, which is brilliant. I think now it's just about finishing the season strong. And I think a win away at Sunderland would long way towards that, and securing third place as well, which, whilst it's not essential, I think it would be a really nice way to end the season, and especially for Carrick as well, going forward in his managerial career. I think he'll be very desperate to finish the job that he came in to do, not just get Champions League football and then fall down to 4th or even 5th, but he'll want to finish as high as possible, and obviously that sets us up going into the summer and into next season. So as I said, Sunderland, I think, will provide a decent test away from home. But I do think that if we can recapitulate what we saw in that first half against Liverpool and take our chances as we deserve better, rightly said, I think we should win the game. But it's good vibes at the moment. It is good vibes at the moment. And hopefully that does continue. But pretty happy is what I'd say.
I saw this comment from Bilal saying, "What's your favourite ever game against Sunderland?" I don't know. I've not enjoyed loads of Sunderland games I can think of, but they've always been a tricky team. To be honest, there's not loads of games to remember. I remember, I know, early 2000s, there was a 2-2 draw. I do remember that Sunderland used to be full of ex-Man United players at one point.
Kieran Dyer.
Do you remember they had who was I think there was a left back and 2 centre backs were in the same team, or there was 3 of their back 4 with Man United, ex-Man United players at one point. They have O'Shea and
Dyer.
Brown, and who was the guy that was either left back or right back? His name I forget.
I'm not sure.
It's about 2002 or 3 or something like that. I can't remember which players, but there was a load of ex-Man United players in Sunderland's team.
I remember they had was it Kieran Richardson?
Richardson, yeah, I keep calling him Kieran
Dyer.
Yeah, not him. There's another one, but I can't remember what his name is. It wasn't as well known.
No, someone in the comments will have it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Jay said last game of the next weekend against last home game. He said he'd give Casemiro the armband for that one. It wasn't Fabio Silva. Yeah, I don't know. What was his name? So I tried to just Google it and try. I don't know how I'm going to find it. We're just trying to guess random names, but yeah, Sunderland. I don't know. It's not. There's not really much of a relationship between Sunderland and Man United, is there? There just seems to be a lot of. There is apparently a link with Almajalo that potentially they want him.
There was that thing that obviously Ferguson said after the 2011-12 season where we beat Sunderland on the last day of the season, and then obviously we end up losing the league, and the Sunderland fans were celebrating and stuff, and like I think Ferguson was not happy about it. I'm pretty sure he said like I don't know, he was like telling the players, "Oh, look at these guys," sort of thing, and like just yeah, I think that's the only animosity. But I mean, I don't know. Apart from that, it's not like
I
we
just
got
found out who it was.
rivalry.
Like,
John O'Shea.
no, it was Phil Bardsley.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
He played for Man United
That's
very briefly, 2005. Then he went on and played 6 years for Sunderland.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got. He did. Must have played in the Premier League for Sunderland a little bit, but generally, also David Bellion didn't play much, but he was at both clubs. He was at Sunderland first.
Darren
But,
Gibson as well was also
Yeah,
played there.
good shout.
Dwight York,
yeah, that might
Andy
be it as
Cole,
well.
Louis Saha, Fraser Campbell, Januzaj, Welbeck,
Oh yeah, Januzaj,
Evans, Wes Brown, John O'Shea, Cool Blimey, Diallo,
It's like a recycling. It's like a recycling center, isn't it? For like people we don't. Do you know what? Gone are the days. Like he was right back, wasn't he? Like I think Cam's right. We've gone are the days when Man United could dump their rubbish at a different club. I was just thinking at the moment, like we when we sent players to. This is weird. A bit. We'll just be live for like another couple of minutes. But do you remember when we sent loads of players to Inter Milan and they pretty much nearly won the European Cup? Like they got to the final. And we just think we look at the team and think, hang on a minute, they had Mkhitaryan, they had didn't they have Ashley Young and Lukaku?
Alexis Sanchez. Lukaku went there as well.
Who was the guy that played?
Who was the defender that went there?
Darmian.
No, the Smalling. Chris Smalling went there as well.
Yeah, Darmian was there as well. There was about 5 or 6. Then
he was buying every single one, wasn't he, Conte?
No, they're working though. They're not good enough to win the Premier League, but they're good enough to do well in Italy. Very bizarre.
I was shocked he took Sanchez. I really was.
We should be thanking them for that one.
Well, we're still paying his wages, weren't we?
Oh, true.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's basically with Sunderland. So I think as an average prediction, most people are going about 3-1. We're going to give them a charity goal, but we're going to score plenty of goals, so that's going to be good. So the watch along and the post match should be fun. But before we go, big thanks to everyone in the comments. Thanks to channel members, moderators. Big thanks to Jeff for the super chat. Big thanks to my panel of excellent guests as well, Wiz Better and Kieran. And I will be talking to Wiz Better tomorrow, and Kieran. Hopefully, we can speak and hopefully get you back on very soon as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
And speak to your brother as well, because Owen's like hard to contact. Admittedly, okay, I've been like quite busy as well, but we'll get Owen back on at some point as well.
I'll give him a nudge in the right direction. I'll give him a nudge.
Top guy, Kieran, isn't he? Top guy.
Right back to you. Too kind. Too kind. Yeah, great community guy.
Yeah, tell Owen he's not in the bomb squad. He can come back in. But
I'll let him know.
Owen's like the United TV equivalent of Malacia, but not in the bomb squad because people have forgotten he exists, and then he'll come back and people think it's you.
Yeah, true. Oh, well, I'm sure he'll come back.
No, thanks to everyone for getting involved. Hopefully you've had a bit of fun tonight and enjoy the rest of your weekend. But tune in tomorrow when we're actually playing on a Saturday. It's and again, this Inter Milan is Darmian, Mkhitaryan, Sanchez, Lukaku, Ashley Young, and that's too many, isn't it? Too many. Ince was actually top quality player. We should have kept him maybe slightly longer. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with loads of content. Until then, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys